Hey guys, I'm Bella, the maker mama boss lady behind Fiber and Fox, and this is episode 32 of my podcast. I'm a crochet designer. I knit a little bit, and this is where I talk about all of that stuff. Today you're getting a weekend, Bella. We're coming off of a long weekend here. It's Memorial Day in the US, a day that we take some time and remember why we have the freedom we have and the lives that were lost in fighting for it, and just honoring and remembering that. But in addition to having that day off, it usually falls on a Monday. My husband had taken some additional days off, so we've been just kind of chilling for a bit, which has been super nice. But yeah, it's like weirdly, this is not how I start the podcast, but it's weirdly cold out. Last week was in the 90s, and we were wearing shorts and tank tops and ACs on and all that, and then this weekend has been rainy and in the 40s, so that was a fun, long weekend. But we still had some good family time. Anyway, back to normal content. I'm Bella, fiber.and.fox on Instagram. You can find everything else you need to know about me, website, and the like, linked down below. And yeah, if you're joining me for the first time, I appreciate you stopping in, and if you like what you see, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, you know the deal. And yeah, if you've been with me all along, thanks for being here. I don't have a ton of content today, but I figured I'd show up for the sake of consistency. So here I am. Couple of things to talk about. So we'll just roll right into what I guess is the admin section. It seems to be how we usually start. At the time you're seeing this, if you're watching this on Friday, possibly the 4th, the Crochet Business Summit that I talked about in last week's episode has just started. I think you can still register once it starts. I'm not 100% positive, but if you want to know more about that, jump back to last week's episode 31. It was a free crochet business conference, all online and all free. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a video coming up soon on Crochet Business Academy and kind of my review of that and my experience. So stay tuned for that. And then the only other thing admin-wise that I wanted to talk about that I put out that is new, I guess. I didn't do a video for it because it seemed like it would have just been kind of a weird video of me doing math on paper, but I did a blog post. If you jump over to fiberandfox.com/blog, again, all linked down below, a blog post on how to calculate yardage, or how much yarn you used in a project, yardage, meterage, whichever way that you're measuring. It's something that comes up a lot in testing. It's something that's super necessary for designing, and it's just good to know how to do if you do stuff with yarn, and you need to know how much yarn you used in a project, how much yarn you have left to still work with in either that project or a different project, or like scrappy yarn. So yeah, I have a little bit of a review of the scale that I use in the blog post, as well as some really simple math and like a little worksheet that takes you through the basic math on how to calculate that. Because it's like 5th grade math or something. It's not complicated. I am not a mathy person at all. But it was something when I started testing that I had no idea how to do. And it's come up a couple times with testers that I've worked with too, that you just don't know how to do it. So I wanted to put a resource out there. I was sure, like, when I started testing, that people were like taking a yardstick and like laying out the yarn and like meticulously measuring it. And it's way easier than that, I promise. So yeah, some basic like cross multiplication, really easy and so important to know. So jump over to that blog post if you've ever wondered how to do that or just want a little bit of a visual. So I think that'd be a great resource for you guys and a great one to pin to use for later. I have it as like a post-it note above my desk, just because sometimes when I get in math mode, I just forget basic things because I'm not great at math. So it's a great one to revisit. So that's, I think admin-wise, that's about it. Only other thing is if my fingernails look disgusting and like blue, we did some tie-dyeing. I'm going to talk about that at the end, but yeah, my nails are gross. So if I'm holding up stuff, I apologize. I tie-dyed them. Okay, let's talk designs. Design-wise, the Grainbow shawl is still in testing. So that should be coming out again end of June, beginning of July, maybe. And this doesn't have a name yet. I'm really not sure what I'm going to call it. It's very early on in the stages, but I just want you to know that I'm doing something, so I'm going to show it to you. It basically looks like a giant swatch at this point, but it's the back of what is going to be a cardigan. In the yarn is, what did I do with? I have the label. This is Life in the Long Grass. I'll try and hide my fingernails from you. Life in the Long Grass in the colorway Gorse. And I talked about this a lot in the last episode. It's some yarn that my parents got on a trip to England like several years back by a Irish, I believe, indie dyer, and it's really special yarn that I've been holding on to for a long time. And I finally feel like I'm ready to conquer using it because I just wanted to do it justice, and knowing that I couldn't get more of it, or not like easily, yeah, I wanted to kind of have a plan. So I'm doing a lot of math on this one up front, and like I said, I'm not super mathy, so I know that it's probably easier to do stuff like in spreadsheets, or there's probably like much quicker formulas to figure out stuff, but I math it out by hand with a calculator and a pencil on paper and a lot of scrap paper and a lot of crossing out and a lot of redoing. So yeah, this is just a basic back panel. It's not very exciting, but I am up in the air. I've started the front, one of the front panels, which again, it looks like rectangle right now. It's not super exciting, but I'm trying to figure out how I want to do the neckline. I think I want it to be a V-neck, but I'm just trying to math that out in a way that's not only going to work for my size, but to be able to grade it in other sizes, and just, yeah, trying to figure out what I want the end product to be. Because working with fingering weight yarn, I am very much more of a tactile person, like do it and see if it works, but frogging, I've done it. Frogging entire designs in fingering weight yarn because you tried something and it didn't work out the way you wanted. I'm going to try to not do that as much. So yeah, the stitch pattern's really pretty. It's not picking up super great on camera. It's looking super basic on camera, but it is a little bit of a variation on a basic stitch. So it's not complicated. I'm going to try to make it a very like advanced beginner friendly design. I don't want it to be too crazy on any Fancypants Elements. It looks a little better doubled over like that. So yeah, that's the Life in the Long Grass yarn cardigan. That's in the works. Yeah, just a lot of math. And I think when I had talked to you last time, I had swatched for it, and then I had like mathed out like my measurements and like how much in yards and rows and stitches and whatnot to make my size. And then by the time I got back to starting and like, I never know, cast on, like what, I'm a crochet designer. You started a crochet design. By the time I started, my gauge had like chilled out. So my numbers on paper, I like made the thing and it was so much bigger because my gauge had loosened up. So I had to go back to the drawing board and do, I think I've made like 8 swatches at this point for like a basic stitch because I just want to make sure the math is there. Which is so like 2019 Bella like barely swatched. 2020 Bella like kind of did math and was like, okay, I'm going to make the thing and then kind of math that out after. And now I'm like 2021 Bella and I'm trying to math things out in advance and I don't know if it's working, but I'm trying. So yes, I had to re-swatch and restart, but now I have it to the dimensions that it like should have been. That's the tricky thing about designing. Like even if you get all the math right on paper, because it wasn't that I had done it wrong, it's that I had done it based on a gauge that then changed because I'm not a machine. And sometimes, you know, you're just having a more tense day, a more chill day, you get more familiar with the stitch, and then your gauge totally changes. So it's always important to do your gauge swatch and then kind of keep an eye on where things are going from there. So that is a design that is in the works. You're going to hear a lot about it over the summer because it's going to take me a little bit. But that is coming. And that, my friends, is the design section. Due to all the designing, there has been a lack in finished objecting. Which is totally fine. I mean, I don't have to have a finished object every time to show you, but I have a pattern test and a sock whip because there's always a sock whip. So I'll just show you that real quick. I had cast on the sock, I think last time I talked to you, just the very beginnings of it. Sorry, my bags are all over the place. But this is a no pattern, just some scrap yarn. I didn't prepare because we've been long weekending, so I'm kind of winging it on this podcast. That's a song that I just wrote about this podcast. Apparently I'm on the toe of this sock. I'm doing another one of those slightly longer than other. Ooh, you look fun. Look at you on camera being all cutesy and stuff. So this yarn is I Could Live in Hope by Megs & Co. Never shows up as cool as it is in reality, but it's very cool. It's like a navy with pink and gold and orange and green and blue and just all of... Someday, guys, I will have a camera that focuses. Someday. We're gonna get there. Thank you for being patient. And then some scrap yarn that I had dyed with avocados a while back, like a year back, and I promised an avocado dyeing tutorial and then never made it. I still have all the footage. Maybe it'll happen eventually. But yeah, cast on a like, not shorty, but shortish sock. And it's just got all the textures because why not? So 2x2 rib on the cuff. I did like 10 rows, 12 rows. I don't remember. And then I did some sort of, I actually don't remember, so I'm gonna have to go back and look at it, but I think 3 or 4 rows in like twisted 2x2 ribbing, and then maybe 2 rows in between that, and then alternating. I don't know what I did there, but it looks pretty good, right? Slip stitch heel looks really cool in this yarn, and then just stockinette foot also looks totally different. Like it looks like a whole bunch of different yarn even, but it's one yarn in just different textures. And then I'm working on a pink toe. Pink is not my color, as we know, but for socks, I feel like I can handle that. I wanted to use up the yarn. I get a lot of satisfaction out of finishing like yarn bits. I know some people like get a couple grams left and then throw it out or put it in like a scrappy blanket, which, you know, is a good use too. But I really love being able to use up like every last bit in like a stripy, scrappy sock or something. I feel, I don't know, same thing, like we talk about the tie-dyeing and like repurposing stuff. I love getting as much life as possible out of an item or a garment or a thing, like whatever. I just love using it all up. Even like leftovers in the fridge. I just love using it up. So that's a random tidbit about me. And then I'm working on a pattern test as well. It's a knit pattern test. My first pattern test of 2021, probably one of my only, because I am trying to focus on designing, but at the same time I like to support other designers as well as learn from other designers, and it's a good balance to make sure you're not only doing your own stuff. If you're somebody that wants to design, I think it's important to be making other designs besides yours. It's just a learning and support process. So I am making, I got a picture here. Hopefully that shows up okay. But it's the Olori, O-L-O-R-I, Olori sweater tee by La'knits Apparel. And this is, Lanray is a like phenomenal hat designer. She has so many like chunky textured hat designs. I don't need to hold this up the whole time, but let me show you. That's the black and white photo of a wide neck raglan worsted weight tee. And it is her first garment design, which is really exciting because she has, like I said, a lot of hats. I'm not sure if she has any, I feel like she has some cowls too. But yeah, really cool hats and stuff, but this is the first time she's done a garment and it's coming together beautifully. So I was really excited to be part of that. Let me get my label. And it's a pretty basic, beginner friendly knit, and just all like the explanations and the way it's written in the pattern is very straightforward, and it's only, I think the pattern in total, I have the pattern right here, I can tell you. I think in total it's like a 7-page pattern, like if you include like the copyright stuff and everything and the cover. So it's not super complicated. I'm not going to show you, but it does have a schematic. It goes up to 5XL. And yeah, just really, really basic, really easy to understand. And the trickiest bit is like doing the raglan increases, these parts. And then it's just worked in stockinette down the body. So really easy, top down. And the sleeves, you don't have to pick up anything. The sleeves are worked as part of the raglan, and it's literally all one piece. So like the ribbing is done in the raglan as well, which is really cool. I've never done a raglan like that before. Let me just make sure nothing jumps off the needles because I'm kind of working with a lot of stitches at this point. I've got the body on there. Okay. So this is my Olori tee. Sorry. And it is worsted weight. The yarn that I am using, I'm actually holding 2 sport weights doubled. I need to take a tea break. I'm going to cough here. I've composed myself. I inhaled some kind of fluff, fiber arts life, you know. So it's a worsted weight. I don't often work in worsted weight, as you know. But I wanted to be able to test knit, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to like test for a fingering weight design or anything. So yeah, a worsted weight garment is totally feasible. The timeline of the test was totally feasible, and I wanted to support this brand new garment endeavor. So it's worsted weight, but I ended up using 2 sport weights held double, which I haven't decided if that was regrettable or not, is they are, what is the breakdown? Okay, so here's the yarn. And I know I've talked about before my mixed feelings on, I like Hobby Lobby as a store, and I actually really like some of their yarns, but I am still very salty about the like hand-dyed line that they released that basically ripped off a bunch of popular colors from indie dyers. Like I'm real salty about that still. But where I live, I have a Joann, a Michaels, and a Hobby Lobby, like in a triangle within like a quarter mile of each other in like 15 minutes from me. And there used to be an AC Moore too, before those went under. So I have the trifecta, is that the word I'm looking for? Of big box yarn stores, really easily accessible to me, which is awesome. And I like utilize them a lot when I did finished items and craft fairs and whatnot. But now that I've mostly been designing and using a lot of indie dyed yarn, I haven't really used them as much. And like with the pandemic, I haven't been shopping in general like a whole lot. It's kind of a pain to go out now. But I knew I needed to get yarn for this, and within the test period and like the breakdown of when she wanted stuff for the test, she wanted like the swatch and like cast on done within the first week, and I didn't really want to wait for yarn, and I know shipments have been funky. So hers is in Lion brand Chainette, which is an alpaca. I'm not sure if it's in the pattern. It's an alpaca something yarn. It's a Chainette. It doesn't say in here, but I believe it's like alpaca, acrylic, and maybe nylon or something. So it's got the drape of alpaca, but a little more substance holding it together, because alpaca tends to grow and stretch and just like not hold shape. So it's a chainette, which helps, and it's got some other synthetic in there that holds it together a little bit better. And I've heard nothing but great things about chainette, but I didn't think I could get it in a timeline that I'd have to not stress about the test, and I wanted this to be like a low-key thing while I was working on my own cardigan. So I went to Joann, and they did not have anything that I wanted in sweater quantity that wasn't straight acrylic, which I'm not against, but for a sweater, and this is like not something I'm going to be layering, it's going to be like a tee with like maybe a tank top underneath, I feel like, disclosure, I get sweaty, and acrylic holds some stanky smells. So I didn't want to do straight acrylic, and Joann had like an alpaca, I think it's Touch of Luxe. It's another Lion brand. It's an alpaca, but it's not chainette. It's another Lion brand acrylic alpaca. But it was very sheddy, and I didn't really want sheddy, but they had a beautiful mustard yellow color, so I was kind of leaning towards that. And then I went to Michael's, and they have some other chainette-y thing. I forget what it's called. It's by Loops and Threads. And that was in like a gray, but it was kind of like a dingy gray, and I didn't love it. It was very pale, like off-white gray, and I just kind of thought it was going to make me look like oatmeal-y, which again, I kind of went with an oatmeal-y color here, but I didn't think it was going to look good on me. So they had that, but nothing else sweater quantity-wise for my size, and it's only a tee, so I didn't even need that many skeins, but I couldn't find anything that I wanted. So then I went to Hobby Lobby, and I found nothing in the worsted weight that I wanted, but I found 2 sport weights and figured I could meet gauge with that, but it's 90% cotton and 10% polyester. So it's heavy. But it's Yarn Bee Rapology Hues in the color Passion Flower. And it has 524 yards per 200 gram cake. Ooh, that was loud. And it's really pretty. So it's like a cotton yarn, but then it has the polyester is this like colorful thread that's running through it. And I think the polyester bit will help the cotton, again, not grow and stretch as much, because cotton just kind of tends to grow under its own weight as you're wearing it. It like lengthens, and it's just heavy. So this is definitely not going to be light and airy like the chainette. Like it already feels kind of like a full weight sweater, and it's only like right at the end of my rib cage. I might crop it a little bit, but I'm not cropping it that much. So I think the texture of it like is coming out really pretty. I really like the yarn with the little flecks in it. But yeah, I don't know if 100% or 90% cotton held double was a good life choice. Either way, it's not something I was planning on wearing in the summer. I know that I don't, even tees and tanks and stuff, I don't like worsted weight for the summer. So this is going to be like a fall, cooler weather cardigan over. It would actually look really cute probably with a cardigan that I'm making when I finish it. But yeah, I think it's really cute and I think the design is really great. I'm just not positive about my yarn choice. But I did meet Gage and it's all working up really beautifully. And just look at those lovely raglan increases. Really basic, but just really pretty. A great statement. The only thing that I am worried about, it is to pattern, but I think the neckline is going to be a little wider than I generally like because I don't like any straps showing, either a tank top or a bra. I just don't like that neckline, and I'm not that living that strapless bra life. So I probably, after the test knit, might go around the edge with a crochet hook and just bring it in just a tiny bit, because I think I'm more of a crew neck than a, what is this, a boat neck? Wide neck? Square neck? I don't know what it's called. But that's just not my top pick for a neckline. But it does show off your collarbone nicely. So yeah, that is my Olori. And I will probably have that finished next episode, and I'll get some finished pictures up on Instagram and the like, so follow along there. I know the test is running through the beginning of July. I don't know if she has a release date, but when I know that and I finish the sweater, I will let you guys know. So go check out, she is at, it'll be on the screen, you already saw it, but at La'knits Apparel on Instagram. So definitely worth following there. So that is what I have been whipping up. Like I said, I don't have any finished objects, so that's like the creating content that I have for you today, which, again, it's been a lot of math on paper, and that's okay, because that's part of what I do too. I had mentioned that we had been tie-dyeing, so I figured I'd show you the tie-dye because I guess that's a creative endeavor, and it's a really fun kid summer project as kids are getting out of school, or if you're me and you have your toddler home all the time. It's a really fun like family project. It is a mess and a half, but oh my goodness, it's fun. So yeah, we did some tie-dyeing as I was on my Joanne Michaels Hobby Lobby journey. I got sucked in. I can't remember why. I don't even remember why, but I had just like gotten the idea that I wanted to tie-dye with my 2-year-old, which is kind of a wild idea, but definitely doable. So I grabbed some like basic, they have like white t-shirts. I think I got the dye kit. It's like the Tulip dye brand tie-dye kit, and I think it was like 15 colors or something like that. A big pack, and it said it made 36 objects, finished objects, dye things. I feel like it's gonna make less than that, but it already made a whole bunch, and I have a whole bunch of left over. So we're gonna just tie dye all summer, and we're gonna live that tie dye life. And yeah, really fun. And we made a bunch of things. So I got my husband involved because I knew I was gonna need an extra set of hands if I wanted to do any tie dyeing on top of her tie dyeing. So I grabbed some t-shirts for her. And then we kind of just tie-dyed over some stuff that we had. Some t-shirts that I had that were either like discolored or just kind of in the headed towards rag pile, but still like an okay t-shirt. I'll show you. And then just some stuff of hers that was not looking its best, but still had life in it. Like I said, I like to use up stuff to its maximum. So the new t-shirts were just like boys like undershirt type things. Like, look how cute that came out. So I will say all the new stuff I did pre-wash, which you're supposed to do to get the like sizing. I don't even know what sizing is, but I know you're supposed to pre-wash stuff to get the sizing off. So I pre-washed it and then soaked them so they were wet. And I put a little bit of vinegar in the water because I was hoping that would help with color fastness. I don't know if that helped my case or didn't help my case. But other than that, we followed the directions on the package. The like little squirt bottles came with powdered dye in it, and you're supposed to just add water. I cut the dye in half, like the dye powder in half, because I wasn't sure if the dye would keep once I mixed it. There was nothing really saying that it would or wouldn't, but I knew we weren't going to make 36 things in one day, so I just like put half of the little baggies in, half of the powder in like little baggies and labeled the colors, and we'll revisit them later. But yeah, then I just put a tablecloth, like plastic tablecloth, shower curtain type thing, drop cloth, out on the front lawn, just because it was easier than laying stuff in the grass. And yeah, we just went crazy. The kit came with gloves, but yeah, my fingernails are gross, because I kept taking the gloves off because they were just really big. They were like giant like twice the size of my hands, giant man gloves, and they definitely didn't fit on my 2-year-old. So one hack I did try that I know from when I did cake decorating is a lot of times, it's gross, but a lot of times when you're mixing dye into fondant, if you don't want to use gloves, people will put like Crisco or an oil of some kind on their hand because that kind of stops the absorption of the dye a little bit. So I gave my daughter like a little baggie of Crisco and I rubbed it on her hands because the gloves there's no way they were staying on. And for whatever reason, she thought the Crisco rubbing was like the best part of the whole tie-dye experience. I don't know if it was just the texture or just having like a bag of what she thought was lotion all to herself. So she started Criscoing her hands like every time she touched dye, Criscoed her hands so much. Like it was so nasty. And then she started Criscoing JoJo and I and saying, it makes you so strong. And nobody thinks Crisco makes you strong, right? Nothing about that saturated fat making you strong. But she was like rubbing it all over our arms and like in JoJo's leg hair. It was so gross. And then she started taking rocks from the yard and rubbing Crisco on the rocks. So I don't know what that Crisco thing was, but by the end of it, I just had her in like a painting t-shirt and some shorts, and she had managed to sit and dye and like dyed the butt of her pink shorts green, so we ended up dyeing the shorts black after the tie-dyeing adventure, but the soles of her feet were dyed, her entire arms were dyed. I had like a big dye mark on my arm that looked like black and blue, which, you know, was a great look for, you know, family long weekends. So we scrubbed it off really good, and thankfully it was cold this weekend, so we all wore long sleeves, and nobody asked why my toddler's shins were purple when we went to church because we were wearing pants. So yeah. That was good. But we did a couple different methods. I think the colors faded a bit, and I don't know if that's because I cut the dye in half. I'm sorry, this is going to be the rambliest part of the whole podcast. Cut the dye in half or didn't let it set long enough. It said like 6 to 8 hours, and we did like 7.5. It started raining, and I wanted to go rinse them out. Uses a ton of plastic, either putting stuff in Ziploc bags to let it set, or we use plastic wrap on some of them, and a ton of water. So not the most environmentally friendly endeavor. I'll give it that. Or I won't give it that. I'll take that away from it. I'll tell you that. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yes, it was so fun. So this one she did basically herself. We had to tighten up some of the elastics because she's not the best at twisting them, but just like putting little like ponytail circles. So this was basically like a big mess of ponytails, rubber bands, and she did all the dyeing on it, and I think it came out so cute. She wore this one today. Kind of looks like fireworks. I think it's adorable. And then what other ones did she do? She did this one with JoJo, was kind of like her tie-dye partner, and I was kind of doing my stuff. But yeah, we're doing it as a family. We tried to spiral these, and they did not spiral at all, but I think it still looks really cool. I looked up a couple of videos on tie-dye methods and kind of went from there, but one that I did for her, actually following a method I'm so proud of. Are you ready for this? Look, it's a heart. Oh, cool. It's not exactly centered. But I was so happy with how this one came out, and it held the color the best, and I don't know why that was. But yeah, I think this one looks really awesome. So I did that one. And then we did a pair of leggings that she had that were just, they were plain white. Everything else we dyed on was 100% cotton. The leggings have 5% spandex in them, which it's recommended you dye on only natural fibers, but the leggings were just dingy white. We have a lot of iron in our water where we live, and stuff just does not stay white. Dingy white, and they were just kind of weird leggings. So I was like, yeah, let's make tie-dye leggings. So we made them the same color as this heart shirt. She wore them together. It's a wild outfit and super cute. So she's got some tie-dyed leggings, and then we tie-dyed over. We had like this boys like dress shirt, which just wasn't quite her look. And it was in the donate pile, so we tie-dyed over that, and now it's a fabulous. This one I just like took the squeeze bottles and was just like shaking it, kind of like splatter painting, over instead of like putting rubber bands on it. I think this one came out awesome. So she thinks this is her tie-dye sweater, which is fun. Again, she wore it over the pants and the t-shirt. It was a whole look. Then we did some bags that I got at, I think, Michael's. They were 100% cotton, but they kind of have like a linen weave to them. So they took dye kind of weird. But we like put the rubber band starting at this corner and then worked out. It's kind of got a rainbow vibe to it. She didn't put it in rainbow order, but I kind of love it. So a couple of these market bags in different colors. And then I tried to do, like, I followed this tutorial for like this black, like rainbow spiral with like a black like spiderweb spirally situation going through it, and it totally did not come out. Like, it's just, I think the back is better than the front, but still, it's not a spiral. This was just like a men's t-shirt. But yeah, it's wearable, but it's not what I wanted in like the red turned hot pink, and there's a lot of white. Not great, but I tried. And then my actual favorite one was one that was in the donate pile. It was I think originally white shirt. I'm not sure. I dyed it with turmeric a couple years ago, but the turmeric was reacting weirdly to our laundry soap. So like parts of it would like flash red when I washed it. Laundry soap and or my deodorant residue. It was getting weird in like the armpits, and they were like raspberry red. The rest was like this orangey yellow. I was like, oh, okay, that's pH balance was not friendly with that. But it worked good for tie-dyeing over. Again, I think the back is better than the front. It was supposed to be a spiral, but it's just a whatever this is. But a fun way to give new life, at least for this year, for the summer, just cute summer clothes, you know, for stuff that was sitting in the donate bin. So really fun. We have a bunch left, and other than maybe putting my baby in like a hazmat suit to do it so that her whole body isn't purple and blue, yeah, I don't know what else to recommend, but definitely do it outside, and it's super fun. So yeah, that's my other crafty doings of this long weekend. And yeah, it was really fun to do as a family. My husband's not generally a crafty person, but he got into it, and it was just fun. And she was so enamored because she has like one like tie-dyed, like shibori dyed indigo dress that a friend of mine made. So I was trying to explain, like, it started out white, and then we're going to put color on it, and then we're going to take it out, and it's going to look kind of like this. And she's 2.5, so she didn't get it. So we started with the white shirts, and then as I was taking the rubber bands off, she was just like it was this magical moment. So it was really fun to do with a toddler. I had considered inviting a bunch of toddlers over and doing it together, but that would probably be terrifying. So I hope you enjoyed my tie-dye ramble. A little bit of a shorter podcast, a little bit less on the making content, but I wanted to show up for you guys, and yeah, thanks for sticking around with me. If you've ever done tie-dyeing or have any tips, I'd love to know them. I feel like I totally could get my daughter into yarn dyeing, but I felt like you don't need any more business ventures. Let's be real here. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for watching episode 32. I will catch you in the next one, and hopefully I will have a more finished cardigan and finished test knit, probably a finished pair of socks, and who knows, maybe even more tie-dyeing. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being my people, and I will catch you guys soon. Bye.